The air inside the grand ballroom shimmered with golden chandeliers, the sound of clinking glasses, and the murmurs of high society. It was a night of wealth, power, and prestige, a charity gala where billionaires paraded their fortunes disguised as generosity. But amidst the polished tuxedos and glittering gowns stood a man who didn't quite belong. His name was Daniel Cole. A single dad, a man with calloused hands, worn shoes, and eyes that carried the weight of years spent working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table for his little girl, Emily. He hadn't come here to impress anyone. He had come because Emily's school had nominated her essay for the charity contest. Her words about kindness and resilience had moved the board so much that she was chosen to read it in front of the wealthiest people in town. Daniel stood in the back of the hall, clutching Emily's small backpack in his hands. He wasn't comfortable here, among men in tailored suits and women dripping with diamonds. He kept glancing at the stage where his daughter would soon walk, nervous and bright-eyed. He only wanted to support her. But the moment that would change everything came not from Emily, but from the sharp, cold voice of a woman who ruled the room like a queen. Victoria Harrington, billionaire heiress, owner of a corporate empire that touched nearly every corner of the city. Everyone knew her. She was beautiful, flawless, powerful, and ruthless. To most, she was untouchable. To Daniel, she was simply the woman who, that night, let her cruelty show in the most public way possible. It happened when a waiter, young and trembling, accidentally spilled a few drops of wine near Victoria's gown. The hall went silent, everyone froze, and then came her voice, dripping with venom. "Are you blind? Do you have any idea what this dress costs? People like you don't belong here." The poor waiter's face turned pale, his lips quivering as if he might cry. Laughter rippled through the room from those who wanted to stay on her side. No one dared defend him. No one, except Daniel. Before he realized it, his feet moved, his heart pounding like thunder in his chest. He stepped out of the crowd and spoke, his voice steady but filled with fire. "That's enough." The crowd gasped. Eyes turned to him, the outsider, the single dad in a suit borrowed from a neighbor. Victoria's sharp gaze landed on him, full of disdain. "Excuse me, who are you to interrupt me?" Daniel took a breath, his voice carrying across the hall. "I'm no one important here. Just a father, a man who works hard every day to raise his daughter. But I know one thing, you don't talk to people that way. Not the waiter, not anyone. Money doesn't buy you the right to humiliate someone." The silence was deafening. No one had ever spoken to Victoria Harrington like that. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. "And what would you know about money, about power, about this world? You don't belong here, do you?" Daniel's jaw tightened. He thought of Emily, of the nights she'd gone to bed hungry, of the times she asked why other kids had more. He raised his voice, not with anger but with conviction. "You're right, I don't belong here, but maybe that's why I see things clearly. This isn't about money, it's about humanity. Respect. The kind of respect my daughter wrote about in her essay. You talk about charity, about helping people, but what's the point if you can't show kindness to the person standing right in front of you?" A murmur rose through the crowd. People shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded, others avoided Victoria's glare. For the first time, the unshakable billionaire seemed caught off guard. Her eyes flickered, anger, then something else. Something almost vulnerable. But she quickly masked it with a cold laugh. "Touching speech," she said. "But this world isn't built on sentiment. It's built on strength." And then it happened. Emily walked onto the stage. Her tiny figure, dressed in a simple white dress, holding a piece of paper with trembling hands. She had heard it all. Her voice, though shaky, carried words that would pierce every heart in the room. "My essay is about my dad," she began softly. "He's the strongest person I know. Not because he's rich, but because he never gives up. He teaches me that being kind is the most important thing in the world. Even when people look down on us, he says kindness will always win." And I believe him." Her words brought tears to Daniel's eyes. The crowd was silent, truly silent. Emily's innocence cut through the pretenses of wealth and pride like a blade of truth. When she finished, the hall erupted, not with polite applause, but with genuine clapping, cheers, even tears. Strangers stood, moved by the little girl's words. And Victoria, she sat frozen, her glass untouched, her eyes fixed on Emily. For the first time in her life, she seemed human. A single tear slid down her cheek before she quickly wiped it away, hoping no one saw. But everyone did. Then, slowly, she rose from her seat. All eyes followed her as she walked to the stage. Daniel tensed, ready to protect his daughter from whatever scorn might come. But instead, Victoria knelt down in front of Emily. "You're right," she said, her voice low but shaking. "Kindness matters, more than I've ever admitted." She looked up at Daniel, then back at the crowd. "Tonight, I was wrong. And I need to change." The hall buzzed with shock. A billionaire admitting fault, publicly. Victoria turned to the waiter she had humiliated. She bowed her head slightly. "I'm sorry." Gasps echoed, but so did hope. It was a moment no one would forget. From that night on, something shifted in Victoria. Slowly, but truly. She funded scholarships for single parents, anonymous donations to hospitals, and programs that lifted people up instead of tearing them down. And she credited it all, not to her wealth, not to her advisors, but to a little girl's essay and a father's courage to stand up for what was right. As for Daniel and Emily, they went home that night not richer in money, but in something far greater: dignity, pride, and proof that even the smallest voices could change the mightiest hearts. Because sometimes, the most powerful confrontation isn't won with anger or fists, but with truth, courage, and the reminder that humanity always matters more than wealth. Sparkle's message for viewers. This story reminds us that no amount of money or power can outweigh kindness and respect. True strength is shown not in how we treat the powerful, but in how we treat those who have nothing to give us in return.